really, it's a way of sharing power with the children, so that the power and the responsibility is mutually supported. They support you and you support them. But obviously, what I can't do, because I'm looking at preparation for working like this, Mantle the Expert is a long-term sort of thing. And normally then the children themselves begin to do a great deal of the preparation. But of course it can be overwhelming when here come I along and say, right, I've done 7 kinds of preparation for you. But normally, truly, the children take on more and more because they own more and more about it. So in a way we've got a false thing. Our client is a Cherokee lady that I've sort of thought, well, this could be her really, you know, who is running the big museum. And I'm thinking the thing that makes it interesting enough for Birmingham children is they're always being taken round places. But how do we help them look behind what they see when they go to a museum? How do they see that every object is a lifetime's experience gone into it? So basically you have a client, and it's your responsibility to make that client exist in the way we talk. You have tasks the client requires of you if you take it on. So you have to go through a ritual of accepting the client's tasks. So however you introduce it, to change the context from we're all in school today again, and we've got these lessons again, you're getting rid of all that. And time is moving quite differently now because we've got this huge job.
Can I ask a question, Dorothy?
Yes, do.
Sorry, just so that I understand.
Yes.
So I'm teaching my class.
That's right.
I'm going to be the voice of the curator.
That's right.
And I've got to devise something that engages the children
That's
in an
right.
interesting
They
way.
can read and understand.
Right,
yes.
so what we're doing is we're devising that something that's the link between myself as a curator and the children.
That's right.
Right.
And it changes their point of view.
Right.
Because I really need their help.
The thing that we finish, the finished product, has to be something that shows the meaning behind the Trail of Tears. That's our challenge, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it says at the top.
Unless heading and date will be required, related, selected with the Museum and Cherokee Indians.
Yeah, I think what Dorothy's trying to get us to do is we're actually in the role as teachers in a sense.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? We're kind of doing the planning that creates the learning, which is unusual in some ways, because very often when you go on a course, you're almost put in the position of the children, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I felt it would be important to mention that the writer, as she was writing to them, would mention all the materials that she's got at the museum, probably citing the diary as an example, which obviously they can borrow if they think it would be useful.
You can borrow copies.
Yeah, right, not the actual things. The voice of the letter would need to be a sort of an emotional appeal, really, that'd be quite informal, a kind of human-to-human letter, which echoes what you said, I think, at the start. That the letter would somehow need to flag up the importance of the inheritance that she's talking about, that the museum has, and the Trail of Tears. We were debating whether that phrase would be in it.
Museum of the Cherokee Indian, New Echota, Georgia, USA. Director Amelia Smoke Starr. Dear Class 2LC, the name of your school has been given to me because I have been told that you have been studying other cultures, such as the Romans and Vikings, and I believe you might have an interest in First Nation peoples of North America, such as the Cherokee Indians. I am the new curator of the Museum of the Cherokee Indian. We have many young people in schools visiting our large museum. However, I am concerned that there is so much for people to see at the museum that they are often confused and don't really look at things closely and understand just how they help to explain the history of our people and how they lived. As young people yourselves who may have visited museums, can you help me to find ways to make people look more closely at our wonderful objects, which are rich with the history of our people? I have many rare and old documents, such as diaries and letters, and I am happy to send you copies if you are interested.
Dear Class 2, I saw on your school website that you had started to study the First Nations peoples of North America. And having seen your pictures and detailed notes about the Romans, in brackets, I loved your mosaic about the hunting expeditions. I decided to write to you because you seemed very interested in the Roman work you were doing, and I wondered if you could help me to create something that will interest young people here. As the curator of the museum, and also a descendant of a Cherokee people, I have been handed the fragments of a diary which has been discovered recently, of a young person such as yourself. We do not know how he learned to read and write. We also have documents between the army and the Cherokees, which I can share with you. I'm sure you are taken around museums yourself by your teachers, and I am more interested in what you think about and what draws you in when you visit a museum, as we tend to find that the young people often walk past many of our most interesting exhibits. I do hope you will consider helping me and my team. Do contact me on an email that's provided and a phone number.
So I thought, because of that lady's letter, we better think about what museums are for. She didn't say an awful lot about that, did she? Right, so a museum is a place where, I'll keep on saying that, you settle down, and of course they'd be doing it on the floor of the hall or wherever, wouldn't they? And, you know, just scribble down anything that comes into your mind. Anything. And then when you think, there's nothing else I can think of, we'll all have a walk round, keep your pen in your hand, and if you agree with it, put a tick beside it, and then we'll be able to see how much we all agree. Now, have we got any, well, we haven't done this for very long yet, but have we got any that we think, now, a lot of people agree with that? So go around, and if you found one where there's a lot of people, a real lot, put a big ring round it, then we can see it. Classification, yeah. Yeah, you're supposed to be. And if you're not sure by yourself, if you've got a friend who's helpful, you can sit by them if you like. But basically speaking, there's so many ideas here, it's going to need all of us. But we don't want any of this sitting by somebody because I can giggle my way through it. It's not on. Not with this lady.
I've sat by precious things are kept safe. Because she did say in her letter she got some wonderful objects and some rare objects, so I think that's important for her.
Yes, what do you think? That we know she's got to look after everything safely. Would you agree there? Is anybody not listening? Or agreeing? I mean, obviously I would be standing up. So I put that up on the board. We know you need to keep things safe, so we're not going to be talking about, you know, give them all out something and let them carry them around with them. That could be quite tricky. Right. Excuse me, what was it you said?
I said that you think about the way that people lived.
The way that people lived,
and how
yes.
it was different then to us. It was a different culture.
and it was a different culture. So we know the people who lived in those times lived quite differently. Is that what you mean?
I think so, miss.
Had different ways of doing things?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, as long as you feel I'm not putting words in your mouth.
No.
So we are understanding that her museum explains people's lives quite unlike ours.
I've got that. There are things from the past that people learn new things now from, so it's important that people are learning new things.
Yes, that you can learn new things by looking at old things. I think that's reasonable, do you? To tell her we know that her old things might help people learn new things. Now, when we create this diary, later they will become the basis for all the still pictures to look at. I am doing this because, and so on. So you'll notice these pages that have a bit of red ink scribbled on are one set of diary pages. Now this is not the whole diary, because I wouldn't use the whole diary. I filleted the diary to find social moments of culture. So what I thought, it would be interesting if we all just aged one sheet. If a museum curator has had these found and brought to her, she would authenticate them in some way. For example, how were they found? What knowledge does she have of that? She wouldn't release them until she'd recorded that. She would also consider what might have caused the damage to that particular page. That's why I thought, don't choose your own, choose somebody else's damage. We can invent how the diary was found. That's something the class can't do. It's exciting. How could a diary have survived 200 years and been found in a very interesting place and brought to this museum? That's what the children and you together can do. And you'll have to choose between what seems the most authentically reasonable. The second thing you're going to do is, what do you believe the stains are about?
Black mould on the top, stains of blueberry juice used for medicine, 3 parts of the same, in brackets, question mark, page, document damaged because of rain or flood.
Some water damage, yes. Were there any others? Yes.
Date brought in 11th of the 8th 1993. Possible page from a diary. Found between the pages of a Bible. Damaged and stained, possible blood stains, possible water damage. Pages may have been torn or possibly disintegrated over time.
Right. So now, you see, we can say, oh well, we've now got the diary, but we've missed a whole learning experience, which is meeting the language of a curator. So I'm now going to ask your permission, as I would with the children. Could you put all the fragments together so that all the diary is there with no losses?
Oh yes, sorry, that paper goes.
And I'm going to do a little bit more scaffolding. You're not really supposed to carry documentation from one country to another, because you might be stealing it. So I'm going to ask you all, you know those clever eyes customs men have? and some can be women. And they don't have to be in uniform, but they're watching the people come off the plane. This plane has come from Oklahoma, because I only remember one address. This plane has come from Oklahoma, which is in my briefcase. My passport is in order. I have my visa for England. What I don't want is grubby hands searching through this very carefully preserved diary. So could you make the customs hall so that I will have to go right through from over there when I come in to over there when I go out. And you can stop me at any point, provided you have a legitimate, courteous reason.
Excuse me. May I just check your hand luggage?
Oh, certainly, yes. There you are.
Sorry to delay you.
Thank you.
Just checking the jet on the thing. Do you have any combustible?
My passport is in there.
It's in there.
Yes. And my visa is in the passport.
We're just going to get that verified for you, ma'am.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
And
Can't see any passport on it.
do you have any metal objects and things that
Only my hearing aid case.
Oh, right, right. And where are you keeping that?
Well, my hearing...
Oh, you've got it in. I do apologise.
Would you like to take a seat for a moment?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes, do sit down. These things do
Thank
take
you.
time.
Yeah.
It's all official stuff,
Yes.
I'm afraid.
Are we going to delay these other people?
Oh, I can through.
Well,
Thank you. So everything seems
Is something the matter?
no,
The visa is authentic.
Yes, yes. And
Thank
do you have
you.
some hand luggage you're carrying or some documents?
Well, yes, but it's very, very fragile.
Oh, right. Maybe.
It's so fragile, I daren't even put it in a case.
Oh, of course. But if we're ever so careful, is it possible just to check?
Yes.
We have to be so careful these days, you understand?
Yeah, well, of course, I know, I understand
know,
how
it's
careful I have to
very
be. Do
inconvenient.
please be careful with it. It is authentic. Well, certainly.
We may need to scan those for traces.
Oh, could you?
Pardon?
For traces of chemicals and things, we have to scan.
But
some.
it's already been checked for chemicals. I am a curator of the Cherokee Museum in Oklahoma.
All right.
And this is,
what are they exactly?
I have a letter of invitation to bring it over to some research people in Birmingham.
Yeah, she has a research contact in Birmingham.
Yes.
How long are you staying for, ma'am?
Pardon?
How long are you staying for? How long do you intend to stay in the UK?
Well, I'm hoping to fly back tomorrow, provided I can take this back with me. But
Piece of luggage.
it is the only piece of hand luggage. My other luggage is searched.
We are on the lookout, madam, for some stolen documents. We may need to examine these documents
Well,
thoroughly.
of course, they are not stolen. I can authenticate. Well, I think you'll find the very notes on them are about the museum. They're really very precious. It's the only copy. It's been damaged by fire, and it's a very, very old document from earlier than the Civil War.
Are you saying these are original, madam?
Of course they are original. This is why I'm escorting them personally, and it worries me that you're looking at them like that. I hope you're understanding.
Can I get you a nice cup of tea?
Pardon?
Would you like a cup of tea?
No, I just want to be sure those, I can't let them out of my sight. You're doing this awfully well. I've got really upset now. I would do that. You know, by God, I really am. I'm worried sick.
I'm so sorry. Obviously, these are very precious, and they're the only ones, aren't they?
They are
These
the only ones. They
copies.
are not my personal property.
No, of course.
And I'm not selling them.
No.
They're not here to be sold. This is why I showed you the document
Yes,
from the
of course.
research people.
Of course.
And these research people are helping me with how to display this document. It is very, very rare.
Can we authenticate who she is?
Can I suggest we phone the research people and just check that they have sent that letter?
Well, certainly.
I
you
said we
may.
should call the police because she's getting very distressed.
I'm very
This is
concerned.
harassment. This is harassment. harassment.
I'm very concerned. Well, I'm mainly concerned that you have a great responsibility for carrying documents.
Of course I have.
The only ones
I
of
know
their
that.
kind.
I know that.
So for our protection,
They are
could we
insured,
photograph them?
but they cannot be replaced.
Could we photograph them for our protection if we let
But
you through?
why would you need to photograph them?
What if they
Every time
disappear?
somebody else handles them, these machines, you see things, you see paper get stuck in photocopying machines.
I don't believe
I
the
couldn't
photocopy.
possibly allow it.
A
A
camera.
camera you were thinking of, wasn't
Or with
it?
the flash effect.
And what will you do with the photographs when
We'll
you
just
take
keep them so
This
that
is
we...
This is the property of my museum. It is not my personal property.
Maybe there would be a different way of transporting them that would be less personal to you. And we do have secure means of transport for such things.
I have shown you my passport, my documentation. You may telephone the research assistants. They're in a particular school.
Are we on to that?
Yeah, we're on to that at the moment. Yeah, we're just trying to get through. Yeah, we're on to that.
They will know my name. You don't need to tell them. They will tell you what it is. And they know I'm bringing them today. This is most upsetting.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
Get a free escort,
Yes.
maybe get
All I
somebody
can
to
say is
Yes.
you are doing a very thorough job, you British people. At least I haven't taken my shoes off yet.
Can we scan those shoes actually now you come to
Well,
mention
of course you may, but I have no pieces of paper in my shoes.
I'll come round and get your shoes.
We're just concerned that if these were lost or in the wrong hands.
Well, the way you're dealing
you know,
with them, they're likely to be, because I could almost flush them down the toilet. I'm
I
so
can
cross.
understand, I can understand. But we are on your side
They're
here.
confirming that she is an employee known to the museum.
Yes.
The school have confirmed
Yes.
that she's doing the
Just take her
country.
shoes
Yeah, MI5 have got interest.
I am just very worried about the technicalities of the law, really.
No import license.
Because legally we might not be allowed to let them through.
I didn't have to have an import license. All I need is permission to leave America with them and bring them to Britain. They're not being imported, they're being researched, and I'm taking them back. I don't know the import rules because I'm not selling them or importing them or exporting
The
them.
law is a very complex thing.
I can't possibly understand all the law.
I know, but
I carry documents all over the world. I've never been challenged like this. I'm really quite upset.
well, we don't mean to upset you. We're very sorry. It's just the law has tightened up, and legally we're not really able to just
Well, I
allow
certainly
original.
shall not use researchers in America in Britain in future.
Excuse me,
But you do see the state of these papers. They
Of
could
course.
contain anything, you know. I mean, we could be carrying in a virus, madam.
Well, I appreciate that, but they have been checked in America by the museum. We know their history as far as how they were found. But it's worth doing because it's tension to create a dilemma. And I mean, I would love it if the children did it like this, you know, and they would, because gradually they'd get the bit between their teeth, and the more upset I got, the more powerful they would become. That's why it's important that I keep on commenting, you're doing this real well. The way you're going, I'll never come back to Britain, you know. Researchers, Mrs. Amelia Smoke Star is in the office at the moment, and I gather she's had quite a fraught journey, but she's brought some documents from the museum for us to look at. So, have you all got your gloves with you? Remember, if you do pick them up, have your gloves, because she will expect this, of course, and she'll have hers. So I bring her in. Now, of course, you know that I can't be in two places at once. So, of course, when I bring in Amelia Smoke Star, I shall go to the office, and you can manage, can't you?
Yeah.
Good. So, good morning, everybody. How nice it is to see you all. And we are so grateful in Oklahoma that you are prepared to help us. Now, I have brought something that really is quite unique, and I thought I'd better bring it in person. Since writing to you, there has been discovered what seems to be an old diary. Now, of course, you know that Mrs. Heathcote had to have this diary typed. It would have been lovely if we could have written it ourselves, but we can't. So will you agree that when we look at it, we don't see so much typing as a child with a pencil or even a stick writing their thoughts? Okay, is that all right? Yeah. It means remembering that. You do have gloves, I understand. You've been issued with gloves. Right. So when we look at this, what I'm asking you is, imagine this document in the museum in Oklahoma. And what will make people stop and want to know about it? That's what's so difficult for we curators. The customs people were really very annoying. I know that is wrong. I know that piece has come loose because of the way they handled it. So I think somebody may find, oh, that's most distressing. Anyway. And of course you always get people who come forward and you get people who sit back and don't bother. You know, they do say that electronics now, that for example if you leaned over the table the voice might come. So whatever ideas you come up with, I would much appreciate, and if you can explain it to me, I can guarantee to pass it forward to the, the Board of Governors of the museum. How would I get the children to read the bit of diary that I'm seeing happen?
I like
Do you think this is possible?
Hearing it as you were close to it, or touching it and hearing the voice.
Ah, right. It's simpler.
I like that. But with other things going on as well.
Yes, and you can do this electronically, I believe, that if you touch or lean over, or there's heat. Isn't there some heat-seeking thing that says there's somebody there reading this? I'm really impressed by your ideas. Do you think you could make a note of them so that in future as you develop the ideas you don't forget what you've produced so quickly here? I'll bring Mrs. Heathcote back, and I do thank you. How did she seem? And you tell me.
She was very nice.
Was she?
Yeah.
Did she listen to you?
Yeah.
Sometimes these people think they know everything. It wasn't like that one.
No.
Good. And did you feel you had good ideas?
Yeah, she liked it.
Good.
She asked us to write them down so that we wouldn't forget them.
Oh, that's right. When she was leaving, when we got the taxi, she said, would we do this? Could you just remind me then of the ideas you've had? Are you talking about a backing track or
Sound
effects?
Yeah.
Have you got any examples?
Horses whinnying.
Horse noises, right? Whinnying. Pardon?
Screwed up paper that sounds like a fire. So if they were talking about diary of the fire, like we could make noises as children.
The making of fire.
The sound of the boy, the voice.
The boy's voice. And of course we'd have to get that as we wanted, wouldn't we?
Oh yeah, lights going on and off in various parts of the room.
Is it the diary experience, or is it, here you will meet smoke, or that's a bit odd, it sounds like there's a fire.
They mentioned Camp Cherokee, so maybe it could be
Oh, Camp Cherokee, yes, right. Well, you've remembered an awful lot, and I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask you, just make 3 groups. You're not too many today to make 3 groups. Just think of a very domestic event that happens very regularly, like, washing up, doing the laundry, pegging the wallet, whatever, something really odd. I don't want a crisis where somebody's got a leg and they're bleeding to death, nothing like that. Just
It's always not
I'll put a bit of salt on it to stay.
That's why I have it.
Can you see this one?
Looks like you have.
Can't try to.
These people are clearing a table, those people are making a cup of tea, and those people are sorting out the laundry.
It's very delicate, this top, you know. You be careful with it.
Yeah, that's extended code. Very delicate, this stuff. That's extended code. Watch your nails is restricted code. Do you see what I mean? If you're going to hang them out, watch your nails. I'll put the kettle on.
Coffee, please.
Can I have a tea, please?
Yeah.
Milk? Yeah.
Kettle will take a while, it's full. Bags are in the pot.
Can I put the football on? Is that all?
We've got some biscuits.
Yeah, no, I think.
Where's the kettle?
Pots up there.
Oh, okay. Did you put any tea in?
Yeah.
There's bags in it.
Finish up, Lizzie.
You finished?
Come on then. I'll get glasses. You still finishing?
Yeah.
Now, in pattern, we know something of why it has to be done like that. It isn't just what we do now that is the habit. So, you know, where the biscuits are and whether they're Garibaldi or whatever they are. But the pattern now we can explain.
Okay, sort the 40 degrees out onto 30 there. Some whites, there was a white one there.
Yeah, right, fine, thank you. Let's see yours, pattern.
Well, I'll put a bit of powder in now so I can dissolve it when the hot waters come in. I'll need a bit of cool now, because these clothes won't be very good in very
The
hot.
pattern is to get the temperature just right.
Yeah, get the temperature right, powder dissolved, yeah.
I'm going to get the mugs out the cupboard to wait for the kettle to boil, because while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, it's a great chance to get everything ready, and I'll probably get some spoons out, or a spoon, and put that there while waiting for the kettle to boil.
And the next one.
Okay, right, well there's 3 of us for tea then, because Bob always has coffee, so there's enough for a pot, so I'll get the pot, and I put 1, 2, 3 tea bags in, and 1 for the pot, so it's nice and strong, and wait there for the water, which is just boiling, so sit down and wait. I'll have a biscuit actually. I'll have a bourbon, because I don't like dunking them much, I'll save the donkey biscuits when I've got my tea, I think.
I always let my wife take the lead on clearing the table because she likes doing it, she likes taking charge of the housework, and I always have a quiet moment at the end of the meal to finish my wine while they're all being very busy. I always have to just keep an eye on one of the daughters to make sure that she is doing the work because she's a bit lazy. I wait quietly while they are finishing up in the kitchen. I always have my wine glass taken away before I've finished. I then always wait until they have done and they have finished their bustling about until I go and wash the pots, and that's another quiet moment.
Okay, we've got
same
them.
position as Tom.
What I would like you to do is group yourselves
see if it is really.
according to the still moment that the painter has caught. So will you just make that group? You can be doing this if you want. As long as it's a moment you can hold. You're going to hold it for a long time. Or keep returning to it. How they may show the people who visit the museum, if they see a grouping, they will understand how to help people look into it to see what's going on. So I'll just do it with this group first, that's all. Right, okay. And when you hear me ask them, each of them will give their own answer for their painting. What are you doing?
I'm cutting straw.
Fine. Now, when you answer, you give the smallest amount of information. You don't start saying, because I am upset by the harvest. I don't want any psychological muck. I am cutting straw. That's all she need do. So she writes on her first piece of paper, I am cutting straw, and she's going to pin it. She can't pin it on her arm. With children, I usually say pin it on your arm so that when people look close, they're not looking at your body, they're just looking at the piece of paper. So you start yours writing down.
I'm gathering the grass.
Right, that's what you write and pin it on you.
Cutting straw.
Having a rest.
Why are you cutting straw?
Because it's my job.
Why are you gathering straw?
It's the harvest.
I've been told to.
Because I'm tired.
And what is your investment in cutting this straw?
I get paid.
I need to feed my family.
Might get a meal.
We've got another 5 hours of this before I can go home.
Where did you learn this?
I learned this from my mother.
I learned this from watching as a child.
Copied my sister.
Watching other people.
So how should life be for such as you?
Life should be hard.
Always the same at this time of year.
It is what it is.
Shouldn't be this hard.
So if you look at what you've written, you've gone from telling me what you do to what you believe in about yourself and your place in the culture. Just go and read them and know what you're doing is you're creating in a museum a moment of Cherokee life, not this painting, a moment of Cherokee life which will help children look in some way or another, either by the clothing they put in the museum or the people or the cut-out card shape or the puppets that hang, and it helps them see if they read in the order. Doing this holds all these memories. Investment, why does it matter, is really what we're asking children. And who did you learn this from? I'll just say, the lady in mauve, what are you doing?
I am letting my disciple touch my wounds.
I'm pulling away.
I'm observing a miracle.
I'm watching the fingers sink in the flesh.
Why are you letting this disciple touch your wounds?
To prove to him that they are real.
Because I don't want my finger to go in.
Because this person was dead and now he's risen.
Because I have to know that Thomas is wrong.
Why is it so important that you shall prove to him?
To spread the word of the Almighty.
Because I am uncomfortable.
Because I want to believe.
My faith depends on it.
My faith depends on it. What are you doing?
I'm playing cards.
I'm looking at the hand I've been dealt.
I'm trying to win this card game.
I'm pouring wine.
Because I want to win.
I want to see if I'm in with a chance.
Money?
I have to serve my employer.
What is your investment in winning at cards?
It's a financial investment.
I hope my luck's in and I'll win.
Financial, I can take more money home.
I have to be very precise when I'm working.
And where did you learn the importance of winning?
From my grandmother.
From others.
My mother and father.
From an old servant at this house.
So how should life be for such as you?
Easy and profitable.
Luck should cross my life at least once, surely.
To live in comfort like my mother and father.
A servant should always obey his master.
Now only you can decide if you think it's worth it. I know it is, from trial and error. and causing children to have this recognition that behind every action there is a whole philosophy that we don't even know we have. I mean, you can look at your own life, and of course the longer you live, the more you can maybe appreciate your philosophy. So you've got the boy with the sorghums and the herbs and his mother. You've got the soldier giving time and then letting the women gather some firewood. So you've got a compassionate soldier. So you've got your groups, choose your picture. And when you've got the picture, make it.
I'm directing the beams.
I'm helping out in Cherokees.
I am helping
the Cherokees.
Oh, you're helping the Cherokees.
I'm carrying the beam.
You're carrying a beam.
I'm supporting the back of the beam.
I am supporting the back of the beam. Right, so you'll be writing that down. These people are sharing poppy seeds, hollyhock seeds. What are you doing?
I am giving seeds to my fellow tribe members.
What are you doing?
I'm taking a present, accepting a
I am-
present, accepting a gift.
I'm accepting the seeds, right, taking them from her. What are you doing?
I'm accepting the gift.
I'm accepting the gift. What are you doing?
I'm writing my diary.
I am writing my diary. Are you giving her hollyhock seeds?
Because I'm leaving.
Because I am leaving. Why are you receiving them?
Because it's a gift. And
Because they are a gift. Why are you accepting them?
Because I like presents.
Because I like presents. Why are you writing your diary at this time?
Because it is important to remember.
Because it's important to remember. Okay. What is your investment in leaving hollyhock seed to other people?
To ensure that we will take some of our home with us.
And what is your investment in receiving them?
to continue my family tradition and to show my friend that I'm willing to do what she wants me to do.
I'll do what she requests I do. She can trust me, right? And what is your investment in liking gifts?
Something nice might grow from these seeds.
Sometimes gifts grow. And what is your investment in preserving this moment in memory?
I don't want our people to forget.
I don't want our people to forget. And where did you learn the value of seeds?
From the teachings of my ancestors.
And where did you learn that you will keep your promise?
From my mistakes.
And where did you learn to receive these small gifts?
From my mother.
And where did you learn that memory matters?
From my grandfather.
So I don't think you needed to go forward, you've got enough. But it's that last one. So just for a moment, think of that last one. So how should life be for such as you, who have a bad stomach and you've got sick and you've got children, you know, and so on. So just think of that last level, because that is the one that often we are surprised by. If you look at the diary now, which remember we would have looked at quite closely, especially in the exercise I could only talk about this morning, when the teacher and the children together are saying, now put a ring round any moments in time you think that we could make happen in the museum, so that people would look behind something and see there's more to it than what it seems. It looks like a photograph, which you could do, of people shifting a beam and digging out some timber, you know, that's what it looks like. So you have to find a way of expressing that, and you don't need it to be people. It can be cut out shapes. It can be voices. Don't think of always doing a drama play thing, because it's the most inefficient for getting fast to some understanding. Sometimes you need the actual flow of interaction that your theatre is. But often you don't, because people aren't good at it necessarily. And they can't sustain the bondings. Now, all I have time now, and I do apologise, is to look at what is a chamber theatre text. Because it is not a script, and it is not a story, because it will be shown. And the people who show will do that which is told that they are showing. In a chamber theatre, the children, if they listen to the narrator, they know what to do. They came at dawn time, the time when the dew is on the herbs. And I was gathering and cutting. The time of bird song. And the glowing morning light. And then the sound in the valley. And going closer to hear the rumbling, and going closer to hear. Suddenly there is no bird song. I walked to the head of the valley and looked down the winding path. This was no car to buy cloth. This was heavy metal, as in the wall. And I listened and hid and heard the metal grinding to the head of the valley. And I heard voices, comfortable with one another. The crinkling of a map, a checking of the place.
I think this is the place well. Do you think really? Yeah. This is what.
And the slamming of doors.
Yeah.
As they left.
This is it.
Their vehicle. They were easy with one another. And they had rucksacks and things upon their backs. And their maps. And they were comfortable with each other. This was no invasion. They wore no soldier's clothes. But I knew they meant danger. And then they sat and took out their food. And the food was in plastic. And they sat in the shade and were easy together. And I hurried to the priest's house and knocked upon the door. And the priest at this hour wondered what I was doing. And I told him of the heavy metal at the head of the valley. He was not convinced, but I insisted. I told him. So I went to the teacher. And I knocked on the teacher's door. And the teacher came with his wife, who wondered at this early time. And of course he knew me. And I told him of the heavy metal at the head of the valley, and people, strangers, with food, eating and talking as if they dwelt here among us. And I told him the priest would not listen. So he went to the priest. And together and they believed me. And I showed them and cautioned them and I showed them and cautioned them to see the strangers. And they could see the glint of the vehicle. This was no buyer of cloth. So they watched with me. And then the people put away their food, took out their map, and walked into my village. And we watched, and they did not see us. And they walked into the village, and they were easy and comfortable, and they laughed together, and they were pleased. And we watched them. And they were obviously seeking something. They followed their map. And we followed them. The priest and the teacher and I followed them. And then they saw the water. And they took out their measures and began to closely examine the water. And they never saw us watching them. And we went to all the houses, and we fetched all the people quietly to come and see a new invasion. And they began to test the water and to try a drink. We knew the water would be pure. Why would they want our water? And they took out their mobile phones. And they spoke to others who were far distant. And they explained what they had found, and we listened. And they spoke with that American voice that we often hear on the movies.
The water's perfect, man.
And they were excited and interesting, and they had machines that typed. And they were easy with one another and showed no shame. And all the people in the village watched. And we knew things would be different. All this I saw at birdsong time. And this was how it was. Okay. Now obviously you've got the diarist. If you want the diarist to do it all, then the diarist's voice would do it all and must be represented in some way. But you see, it needn't be represented by a boy moving from place to place as a guide. It can be just the diary flutter its pages at that point, and you hear the voice of the boy. I am Cherokee. These are the memories of my people. But in the museum, you may well have a painting of all the Cherokee people as they moved, because we know they did have, or paintings of soldiers and so on. We can only invent what we think the museum will have, because we haven't got all the things, and obviously we can only refer to what we can find out there. But it's not once upon a time stuff. It's now time and the action of now time. Thank you, and I hope it's not too fragmented, because it's been very fragmented in one way or another. There's your book.
Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.